September has been designated I Stand With Kids Month by First Witness Child Advocacy Center. As children head back to school, First Witness is emphasizing its advocacy efforts in the schools and with parents. The organization also partners with law enforcement, the county attorney's office, and others in a multidisciplinary team to help victims of child abuse. Here to tell us more is Tracy Klana, Executive Director of First Witness. John Holitz is with the St. Louis County Attorney's Office, and Annie Harla is a member of the First Witness Board of Directors. And thanks to all of you for being here. Really appreciate you coming in tonight.
Sure. Thank you.
Tracy, maybe you can start. Just tell us about I Stand With Kids Month and what the goal is.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. You know, it's important for our entire community to be a part of the conversation about preventing child abuse, in particular preventing child sexual abuse. We know that 1 in 10 children, 1 in 6 girls, and 1 in 8 boys may experience child sexual abuse before the age of 18. And so that's what our month is about. It's about educating our community about the importance of prevention and also asking the community support for the children who do experience child abuse.
Those are just astonishing statistics. Child abuse take a lot of different forms, or how do you define it for the purpose of your organization?
Yeah, well, there are statutes that define it. We specifically at First Witness work with children who have experienced child physical abuse to a criminal level, and also all children who have experienced child sexual abuse.
John, you're at the St. Louis County Attorney's Office. Tell us how the multidisciplinary team gets involved in all of this.
Well, the multidisciplinary team gets involved. I mean, it really shapes the advocacy center and how our approach to interviewing, how we decide our protocols for interviewing. The training that we do, is from as simple of a thing as how the room's going to be arranged that we're going to do the interviewing in, and really how we're going to handle things from camera angles up to monitoring interviews, watching, and maybe helping and assisting and making sure that the right questions are asked and nothing's missed.
And then, should it be necessary, your office is involved in the prosecutorial end of it.
Of course, certainly if something rises to the level where there's a criminal case, we get involved. Of course, we always hope that we never have child abuse, but we're there.
It happens.
We're there when it happens.
Annie, you're a former school board member, and the Safe and Strong Child program is in the schools. Talk about that and how it reaches both kids in the classroom and their families in maybe some other settings.
You know, after finishing the school board this was the board that I wanted to join, because I heard from our amazing staff members about how they were teaching our kids to say no, walk away, tell an adult when something does happen. And so to be able to be teaching in the classroom, also teaching teachers how to respond to this, and normalizing that you can have the conversation about it and finding safe places for kids to tell their stories is just so important. So it's neat to have the opportunity to serve on the board now and find ways that, and to see unique ways that our community comes together to both respond to this, but then also to prevent kids and give them power to stand up for themselves.
Tracy, who typically notifies First Witness if it appears that there is a case of child sexual abuse?
Yeah, so we are called either by law enforcement, and we work with the Hermantown Police Department, the Proctor Police Department, Southern St. Louis County Sheriff's Department, and Duluth Police Department. And I think that's it.
Okay.
And then also the Initial Intervention Unit with St. Louis County. Those are the folks that do the screening of the alleged child abuse, and they are the ones that call us to schedule the interview.
So how far out from the city of Duluth does First Witness expand? All over St. Louis County or just in the city and Hermantown Proctor?
Yeah, primarily southern St. Louis County. However, we do work with northern St. Louis County. We work with Carleton County.
Oh.
Actually, Carleton County brings all of their alleged child abuse cases to us. Some in Lake County, some in northern areas, some in, kind of around the northern part of the state, but primarily southern St. Louis County.
John, maybe you talked a little bit about this, but how aggressively does the legal system really pursue and prosecute offenders? And are there specific challenges because you're working with children and families and complicated relationships?
That's a very deep question. In terms of how aggressively, I mean, if there's a case that we can pursue, we will. And when you ask about the complications, of course, because usually we know that child abuse and child sexual abuse is coming from somebody who the child knows, somebody who the child trusts, somebody who the child loves. So that's a complication right out of the gate. So that's why it's so important to have a facility like First Witness, to have a child advocacy center that can do this non-leading, non-suggestive interview. That's really a high-quality piece of work that we can use to prosecute. Without them, we're really in a tougher spot.
And I imagine that a big part of what you do is trying to prevent additional trauma to the child because they've already gone through a traumatic experience. So, are there things that you do to make sure that this is as comfortable as can be, despite how awful it is?
Yes, 100%. So we sometimes I explain the work of a child advocacy center in a way that helps us understand it by understanding what children would go through if they didn't have a child advocacy center. So we are fortunate in Duluth. We were actually very much on the forefront of the child advocacy center movement. County Attorney Mark Rubin was the person who really said, Duluth needs this. Our kids deserve to have an advocacy center where they don't have to tell that story over and over to many different people and go around town to the police station, to the county buildings. They can tell their story once at First Witness in a very child-friendly. Not only the environment is friendly to the children, but everything we do, everything the multidisciplinary team does is oriented towards the trauma that child has allegedly experienced and how that they can be not re-traumatized by their interview.
Annie, we hear a lot about abuse. How is First Witness working in the area of perhaps prevention?
So that's what this month is all about, is preventing child abuse and getting the word out there, making sure that children have their power and are learning ways that they can be safe and strong. That's the name of our curriculum that we put. And so this month we have a goal as an organization to raise $50,000 to support this, to get in as many classrooms as we possibly can all throughout the region.
And I understand that the Safe and Strong Child program doesn't have any state or federal funding, so you really do have to be fundraising to get this out into the schools.
That's correct. And that's our community. Again, our communities in northeastern Minnesota are unique in that we are committed to preventing child abuse and also responding to it in a child-friendly way. But it's not funded at a state or national level. And so certainly the funds that we raise this month, the $50,000 for I Stand With Kids, is very important to continuing the child abuse prevention program.
And do you have any activities going on that people could participate in that are part of this awareness campaign or the fundraising campaign that you have going on?
You know, we have a large social media presence in the month of September, and we have a press conference in a couple of days, really encouraging people to participate in child abuse prevention conversations, help kids have their power and understand that they need those messages around empowerment and owning their body. And so what we really are encouraging people to do is, one, support our campaign, and two, reach out to us and ask questions. Invite us to your church or to your community organization or your school to have us come and talk about how you can make your neighborhood or church a safe place for kids.
It sounds like First Witness has really grown in the, 20 years you've been in existence?
26 years.
26 years.
Yes, for sure we have.
Yeah, a lot of changes there,
Yes,
too.
for sure.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming in. Really appreciate you sharing this information, and good luck with your fundraising.
Yeah.
And thank you for the work that you're doing in the community.